Because you mentioned the whole Afghanistan thing, I figured to come back around to that because, like, so Biden, made this decision to leave Afghanistan,
which I appreciate.
I know, and the thing is, he announced it months ago, but I was like, this is just going to be some bullshit thing where we don't really get out, but it seems like we are.
Yeah.
And the thing I find interesting is, and it doesn't really surprise me, but I watch Kyle Kalinske quite a bit on YouTube. He's like a progressive commentator.
I think I've heard you listening to him. But yeah, okay, go ahead.
And but he points out how, like, corporate Democrats who take money from places like Lockheed Martin,
right,
and the mainstream media, including like MSNBC, who has a reputation for being left leaning, but when push comes to shove, like, they know where their bread is buttered. So all their commentators basically are saying that Biden shouldn't have done this and he did it the wrong way, and
well, you're always looking for some criticism, and there was no way to get out without being a mess. We've been there for 20 fucking years or however fucking long. And it's just insane. Like, we never should have been there. And all it really did was funnel money to these companies. There's nothing else it really did.
Yeah, I mean, you hear about all the money that contractors got from these big deals to rebuild schools
Gigantic.
And build hospitals. Well, those hospitals didn't even get built, or not properly.
Right.
And, all the money went into their pockets.
And there's a great book, God, what was it called? I forget what it was called. There was this guy, and he was basically he would write up these big plans for improving a country, all this like kind of internal development, like dams and all this stuff. And it'd be like poor countries, and we'd cut them this deal. We'd say, hey, let's do all this internal stuff for you, and in exchange, you'll put on your end, like the rights to your mining or such and such. And the theory was, or what we sold them on, was that all this internal development, all these dams, all this infrastructure we're building is going to make you more than enough money to pay back these loans and pay back all this money for all this development. And essentially it doesn't. And they kind of know that it's not going to happen. And when it falls through, they demand these things. They demand your mining rights. They demand your oil rights. And it's such a weird and subtle form of control. But like in Afghanistan, like it's a strange type of war that you can't win because everybody who's against you is integrated. Like, they disappear into the system. They're in the woodwork. They're like, termites, and you can't really see them. And it's just so kind of strange. It's like an unwinnable war.
Yeah. And you're surrounded on both sides by Pakistan and Iran.
Right. And all these billions of dollars you're pouring in are basically just going to companies, and they're paying a chunk of that money back to the congressmen to perpetuate this system. And it's so dark and so just such a horrible thing to witness and to feel that, like, personally as a taxpayer, I feel like I'm part of this. And, like, how do you even separate yourself from something so terrible?
Yeah, it really is the military-industrial complex that Truman warned us about so many years ago.
It's definitely there, yes. And nobody on either party is really making any attempt to pull back.
And nobody's safe from, just like, now they're selling tanks to the cops, right? Now we have military police, in our own country.
I mean, you do see that, and a lot of people argue about having guns or stuff, and there's certain people who argue, like, we should have the same weaponry as the cops and the police, because when things do get shitty enough, you want to have enough force, enough, potential even on your side to fight back if you decide it's necessary. And the thing is like, there's certain shitty people with that potential who use it against you, and like you use that as an argument to disarm and take away that potential from the people. And it's such a dangerous system to watch, and it's like, personally, it's very saddening, it's very disheartening, and even depressing for me. And like if you're on that side of the fence, it's really hard to even know what to do, or what to pursue, or what to believe, or with the surveillance system in place, how much do you even advertise of what you believe? Because there are a lot of dangers there, I feel like.
I will say, like, switching gears a little bit, Kyle Kalinske also did a good job of pointing out how, like, the media is kind of hypocritical in many other ways, because, like, they're really, like, trying to get us to go back into Afghanistan or whatever. But, like, I don't know exactly what the situation is in Yemen, but apparently, like, people in Yemen have been getting fucking slaughtered. But they don't try to get us to go into Yemen, like Afghanistan, because it's not.
The Saudis are in charge over there. They don't want to go against the Saudis.
Yeah. Okay, is that what it is?
Right. It has no meaning. Like, if it was purely on a more moral stance, like North Korea, obviously, like, this guy is a gigantic piece of shit. Like, his predecessors have been gigantic pieces of shit. Like, you should oppose this on a moral stance, but yeah.
But there's nothing there. Nothing
right.
there.
There's no motive there. There's no good reason to go there.
Yeah.
The other thing you pointed out, you mentioned Saudi Arabia, is that, like, one of the things that, like, the media is harping on is, like, oh, the Taliban are taking teenage sex slaves. But Saudi Arabia does that too. But since they're our ally, they don't fucking point that out.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And
I mean, what was it, like, how many of the hijackers of 9/11 were Saudi Arabian, man? We attacked Afghanistan.
Yeah, weren't most of them from Saudi Arabia?
I think all of them but 2 were from Saudi Arabia.
yeah, like, I don't even remember enough of that to make a comment.
I believe that's true, yeah. Most of them were.
Bin Laden himself is Saudi, like, yeah. They made a deal with Saudi Arabia a long time ago. You provide oil, we provide the military, and we made a deal with the devil. Now we're stuck. Or, we choose to work with it. I don't know.
I will say, like, this Afghanistan story, I do really feel sorry for the women in Afghanistan that, they've had these 20 years now.
Well, just the people in general.
Well, yeah.
Like anyone
but women especially, because of how they're treated, They've had 20 years now of not being under Taliban control, and now they're going to go, and they've been able to get, like, educations and stuff like that, and now it's just going to go back to the way it was. And, man, I feel so sorry for them. I wish there was a way to get them out of there, It
was so quick. I'm like, what the fuck were we even doing over there? Did we make any attempt to arm the populace? I know we were sending money to their military, but, like, it sounded like that was very corrupt. And
now there's, like, pictures of Taliban guys with, like, Black Hawk helicopters and shit.
Yeah.
They got, like, all this
like, so much of it just transitioned to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's so.
But despite that, it's stupid to be in favor of, like, endless war and being over there. Like,
right. My opinion is that we never should have been there.
Yeah.
Like, it sucks to have to accept that there's these cultures that are just that have practices that we find so abhorrent. But 2 wrongs don't make a right, and us being over there trying to exert our influence on them forever isn't right
nothing.
either.
Right.
And it doesn't work.
Nothing.
It does not work.
Yeah.
It just,
if you're going to conquer an area or, like, something, the only thing that really works is if you go there, you kind of, like, populate it, you take over.
Yeah, you actually have to colonize a place.
Right, colonization, essentially, yeah.
Not that I would be for that, but just...
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah.
yeah. colonizing in the past hasn't exactly been looked upon.
Well,
as a good
another
thing.
part is like you should have like a similar culture, or you know, and you have to keep their laws in place to prevent uprising. So,
And keep the people who know what's going on there. Keep them around. Don't get rid of everybody. Like, yeah, they know how the system works and how to stop famines from happening and all this stuff.
I mean, the thing is, like, if you'd gone in and maybe like kicked their ass and possibly moved Indians in or something to colonize, because the thing is, you do have similar cultural,
But Pakistan wouldn't allow that.
Well, right, but the thing is, there were like a lot of Sikhs and Hindus there before the Taliban, and a lot of them, like
Left,
they packed up and left. But still, you do have similarities there. But yeah, if you just go in and conquer them and leave, it's going to accomplish nothing.
I really do think, in the long run, our best weapon is economics.
Yeah.
And basically getting other countries kind of hooked on our cultural exports, like movies and TV and shit like that, I think helps as well.
Well, you're right. I mean, that's gigantic. If you think of the number of people in the world who speak English because of the movies and because of so many other things, and because of that's where the business center is, it's gigantic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think over time, that's going to change those countries more than anything, because people like that kind of shit, and it's just I think given enough time, you those kind of things I think can change the world for the better. I really do.
I mean, it's possible. If you look at the Taliban, though, they're very careful about isolating the culture. They destroy. I mean, they've destroyed so many Afghan museum artifacts. They've destroyed, Buddhist
4,000 or 2,000-year-old statues, I think.
Gigantic statues have been carved in mountains and shit.
Yeah.
Just dynamite destroyed. I mean, they're very methodical and they're very, it's rude to say, but very, very backwards. Very simple, and when people say they've gone back to the Stone Age,
Dark Ages,
yeah, right. It's not that far from the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it does seem like they're targeting. It's like a Pol Pot situation where they're targeting anything with knowledge,
anything slightly different,
outside of
anything strange. You take over the schools. You only allow religious teachings. I mean, there's so many. So many things like that, and it's just it's devastating.
I kind of wonder, so one of the controversial things the last couple of years, and something the WWE has gotten some bad
a shift of
well, it's related though. They gotten some bad publicity because they basically signed a deal with Saudi Arabia, where and this was obviously COVID put a kink in these plans, but where basically a couple times a year they do these huge shows in Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is paying them insane amounts of money to do these shows.
Okay.
And on one hand, I don't blame the wrestlers for doing it at all because they're getting huge paydays. It's one of those things where I can see both arguments, because on one side, for example, there's this one wrestler in WWE that has Syrian ancestry.
Okay.
And so they won't let him go because Syrian or Saudis have a problem with the Syrians or whatever, And so obviously there's a lot of people that say just from a moral standpoint, WWE should not be doing these shows over there. But on the other hand, I do think wrestling is one of those things that can bring people together, and despite anyone's feelings on it.
Thesis.
No, it's true. It's a cultural thing, and a lot of people love it, and that's a connection between Americans and the people that love it over there. Just like movies or anything else, it's this thing that can bring people together that love a certain thing. But so it makes me wonder, like, let's say they do these shows, for a while, and then eventually, I mean, Saudi Arabia is so shitty, I don't know what it would be, but let's say Saudi Arabia did something really terrible, and WWE was like, okay, we can't do this anymore. Like, you've crossed the line. Like, those people that love wrestling over there would probably be legitimately, like, upset, maybe at the WWE, but maybe at their own government, to be like, look, you made us lose this thing we love because you're being shitty, That
happens here all the time, actually, with like gay rights. I think the NBA, I think baseball also, like they threatened to pull out their All-Star games out of certain states because they were trying to make like anti-LGBTQI bills.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I mean, that works. We've seen it work here.
See, it's interesting.
Yeah, I can see it. I mean, share, export, all that stuff, but at the same time, bring up the issues that are important and, try to get those things changed.
Yeah, it's always about numbers.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, like, so the, Marvel movies or whatever play in all these different countries, but they'll, like, other countries will heavily edit them, like, oh, this character said, like, is gay or whatever, then we'll just edit that or whatever, But, like, what if that country did something shitty and we were just like, you know what? We're not showing Marvel movies in your country. Of course, they could get them anyways, I guess.
Yeah.
But at some level, like, their populace that loves Marvel movies would be upset, I don't know. I think there's something to that.
Yeah, it's such a complicated issue with, like, so many facets. It's hard to say.
Let's see. Well, that was a long discussion on that. You guys got any final thoughts on either Afghanistan or OnlyFans?
I hope it works out for both of them.
I'm glad we're getting out of Afghanistan. OnlyFans needs to get back in.